first one is this flow rate. The flow rate of heat transfer medium through this one. That flow rate, the minimum flow rate must be large, because a number of factors are depending upon that flow rate. First one, residence time. The residence time of this heat transfer medium inside this shell is depending upon the flow rate, and that residence time must be small, something less than 1 minute. That one is the required residence time of liquid inside this shell. Okay, so if flow rate is small, definitely residence time increase. Okay, so residence time must be small means flow rate must be large. That is one problem. So minimum value, the minimum value of flow rate must be large. Okay, and second thing is Reynolds number. The effective heat transaction is depending upon Reynolds number. If the Reynolds number is small, the effective heat transaction will not occur. So for effective heat transaction, the Reynolds number must be large. So for that purpose, the flow rate of heat transfer medium must be large through the shell. Okay. So this is second problem associated with this particular temperature control scheme. Okay. Simple temperature control scheme. Third one is the changes in process dynamics. Okay. Actually, the process dynamics is depending upon the coolant load, the heat transfer medium, heat transfer medium load. Okay, so load means demand. So if the heat transfer, the demand of heat transfer medium, if it is small, we have one process dynamic condition. We can discuss that. And if the demand is large, if the load is large, we have another process dynamics. Okay, so the process dynamics must be maintained constant. Okay, during the discussion we can discuss why we need to maintain the process dynamics constant. Okay, third one is again it is related to load. Okay, so if load is increasing, if cooling load is increasing means if the demand of coolant is increasing, the problem is the process or the chemical reactor gain will decrease. Chemical reactor gain will decrease. So that one is shown here. Okay, but normally in a process the loop gain must be constant. Loop gain must be constant. So if the chemical reactor, this one is a plant gain, if it is decreasing, plant gain means Kp. If Kp is decreasing, if it is decreasing, we have to provide something which will increase the, it will maintain the loop gain. So we can say that is Kv. So if Kp is decreasing, simultaneously this one must be increased, so that the product of this one will be constant. Kv into Kp will be constant. Okay, so the simple thing that we can use is valve, control valve. Control valve, especially equal percentage valve, have an importance property. With respect to the cooling load, its gain will linearly increase. The flow characteristics of equal percentage is a curved one, exponential one, but gain point of view, the variation of gain contributed by equal percentage valve with respect to the cooling load is linear. Okay, so that is very important. So this is linear, and you can see that this particular one is the reciprocal. If this one is changing with respect to the cooling load, say we can say L. So this is linearly changing with respect to L, and we can see that this one is the inversely changing with respect to L. So if you are taking the product of these two, the product will be constant. So that one is the advantage of equal percentage valve. Equal percentage valve will maintain the loop gain constant. Okay, so we need to use equal percentage valve. That is very important. Okay. Now the next one is I told you with respect to the load, low load or high load, I told you the process dynamics will change. So here two extreme conditions are shown. So you can note this diagram. So here the response of chemical reactor temperature with respect to the load, that one is shown. We are assuming that a step change of load is occurred, means the demand the change in demand is occurred, and we are assuming that one is a step change. Okay, so step change in load is occurred, and assume that change in load is two different change in loads are occurred. One is a small change in load, and second one is the large change in load. Okay, so the demand is different. So here, if the change in load is small, if you have a low load change, if you have a low load change, this bold colored one is the response to that low load change. And if you have a high load change, then this dotted color is a change in temperature with respect to that high load change. First, we can note two important characters from this response. So for the purpose, take this low load response, this bold color, low load response. You can see that up to this point, it is not responding up to this particular time. And after this time, the response is huge up to this point. Is it okay? So we can say because a step change is occurred at 0, okay. So this time where the response is negligible, we can call this time as the delay. And the region where the response is very large, we can call it as the response time. So this one is a response time and this one is a delay. Delay means there is no response or the response is negligible. So that time duration is known as delay. The time duration where the response is maximum means if you are maintaining that maximum time response, the time required to read the response to the output value from initial value is known as the response time. Okay. So if you are taking the low load response or if you are comparing the low load response and high load response, two important difference you can note. First one, delay is maximum for low load response. So this is the delay of low load response. And for high load response, this is the delay. So delay is small for high load response. First thing. Second one, if you are taking the response time is small for low load response because this one is the response time of low load response. This one is the response time of low load response. And if you are taking the high load response, then this is the response time of high load response. So this is T of low load and this is T, response time of high load. So what is the comparison? You can see that for low load, delay is maximum, response time is small means speed of response is also maximum. Large delay, large speed of response. Quickly it is responding. But that one is responding after a very large time. So delay is maximum, speed of response is also maximum for low load. For high load response, delay is small, it will respond quickly. It will respond to the step change quickly. But in order to reach the final value, it will take large time. Means speed of response is also small. So here, this one is two extreme condition. In real case, the response is varying between these two extreme conditions. Delay is continuously varying, response time is also continuously varying. Okay. So now what type of control mode that we are designing? We are designing or we have to design a PID controller. And how we are designing a PID controller? So you can see that from this response, for convenience, we can take this low response, this bold color. So you can see that this one is a self-regulatory system. Without any controller, that one is self-free regulated. So we can use an open loop tuning. If you are using an open loop tuning, initially what we are noting? We are noting two important parameters. One is delay, that is L. We are noting lag, capital L. Here that is TDL. And second one is the response time, T, capital T. These two are using. So we are using the response time and the lag time for tuning. So what is happening if the response is continuously changing? If both L and capital T both capital L and capital T, if it is continuously changing, what is the problem? We can't design a fixed controller. A fixed PID control that we can't design. Continuously we have to change the parameters of PID, that is we have to change Kp, Ki and Kd values continuously because the process dynamics is changing. Is it possible in real life? Can we continuously change the values of Kp, Ki, Kd? For a we can implement adaptive controller, but that one is normally the normal people can't use that particular controller. That is why in industry PID is used. Otherwise we can use the sophisticated controllers, etc. But the common people can't understand that. The operators can't operate with that particular control. So we have to use the classical control modes. So if you are using a classical PID controller, we have to fix the value of Kp, Ki, Kd. So and if you are fixing Kp, Kd value, we are fixing that values with respect to some process dynamics. Okay, so if the process dynamics is changing from that value, definitely the PID controller will become ineffective. Is it okay? It is known as robustness. So the issue of robustness is there. So in order to avoid that, what we have to do? We have to fix the process dynamics as far as possible. Even if it is not fixed, the variation must be small. So that we can do by maintaining the flow rate constant. So that one is the third requirement of why we are maintaining a minimum flow rate. That is the third reason, not requirement, third reason. Otherwise, the change in process dynamics will be maximum. Is it okay? Okay. So please note, we have to maintain the flow rate constant. So a number of issues are there related to the minimum flow rate. One is Reynolds number, second one is the process dynamics, and third one is residence time. So a minimum flow rate must be maintained. So for that purpose, we are using the second control scheme. So this one is the recirculated cooling watt configuration. So I think you noted this diagram. So you can see that this is almost similar to the basic scheme. Okay, the simple scheme that we discussed in the last class. So again, this one is an exothermic reaction. So if temperature is very, so in order to remove the generated energy, we are using a coolant here. Okay. So now, if temperature is large, then in order to remove that much energy, we have to increase the flow rate by opening this control. So this one is a normally open valve. So in order to open this control valve, we have to give minimum control signal. So minimum control signal, if you have large temperature means error is negative, means small error. So for small error, small control signal, so valve is open, so flow rate is increased, and vice versa. It is similar to what we discussed in the last class. Now the additional thing is, here you can say this is the, so this one is a direction of this heat transfer medium, like this way. So this is return, the outlet of this heat transfer medium, and you can see that a portion of that return is recirculated to this direction. What is the need of that? So if what point of view, we can expect fully closed condition and fully open condition, that we can expect. After a particular stage, it will be partially open depending upon this control signal at a steady state. Otherwise, during the dynamic condition, during the transient condition, you can expect continuous change in this valve position. So we can expect almost closed condition, almost open condition, that we can expect. So if it is almost closed by giving large control signal, if it is almost closed, this flow rate will be small. This flow rate will be small, and that is a problem. If this flow rate is small and if there is no recirculation, so say this flow rate is QH, say this is QH. So this flow rate is also QH. So QH is small, means QH means flow rate of heat transfer medium. So if QH is small, then the flow rate through this shell is also small. So we have the problems of the variation of process dynamics, we have the problems of small Reynolds number, large residence time, etc. So these problems are there. So in order to avoid that, this one is also taken. This one is also taken. Okay. So you can see that we are taking this, so we can call it as QR. QR means flow rate of return. Recirculation. QR means flow rate of Q. So you can see that this one is taken from this return. An important thing is, what is return? The outlet side of this heat transfer medium. So this heat transfer medium is flowing through pipe, flowing through shell, means a number of restricted devices it is flowing. So definitely at this point pressure will be small. Pressure will be small. And this one is the inlet side of liquid. So at this point pressure will be large. So how can we transport liquid from this low pressure point to this high pressure point? How it is possible? It is possible if you are using a pump here. Okay, without pump we can recirculate this liquid. That is not possible. And one more thing is that if you are connecting this one without pump, this one I told you this one is a high pressure point and this one is the lowest pressure point. So this liquid will flow like this way. So in order to avoid that also we are using a pump. So what is the advantage of pump? It will suck liquid to this direction. Right. So if you are using a pump, at this point a vacuum is created, almost vacuum, a very small pressure is created and a high pressure is created here. That one is, so pump and compressors are the pressurizing devices. Okay, so it is increasing pressure. It is pushing liquid to this side. So at this side it is pulling liquid. So here pressure will be very small and at this point pressure will be high. So that is the purpose of this pump. So this is known as a recirculation pump. This is known as recirculation pump. So if you are using a pump, always this flow rate will be constant because we are using a pump. So this flow rate will be constant. What is this flow rate? QH plus QR. So this one will be constant. So if QH is small, the automatically pump will take remaining liquid from this return side. So this flow rate will be constant. What is varying? Only heat energy carried by this liquid will vary. And what is that heat energy? That one is the average value of the heat energy supplied by this control valve and the heat energy carried by this return. Heat energy carried by the return is, we can assume it as constant for a time being. It is constant. Only this one is varying and the heat energy carried by this liquid, that is heat transfer medium from this side, that is depending upon the valve position. If valve position is small, the effective heat carried by the heat transfer medium will be small. And if valve is fully open, effective heat energy carried by it will be large. Okay. So please note, the flow rate is constant now, or the variation is negligible now through this shell. Only heat energy is varying. The effective heat energy is varying. Is it okay? So what is the advantage? The variation of Reynolds problem is avoided. Variation of process dynamics is avoided, etc., etc. But it have a disadvantage. Due to this recirculation, accuracy will decrease. It will become a little more inaccurate compared to the previous one. But it can avoid the serious issues like variation of process dynamics, serious issues like the variation of Reynolds number, etc. That we can avoid. Okay, so that is the advantage of this recirculator cooling water configuration. Okay. Now what is remaining? In last class we discussed about one more problem. That one is still remaining here. Can you identify that problem? Still it have the temperature gradient problem. It have temperature gradient problem. Localized temperature points are still there. We can't eliminate that, we can't remove that. That is not possible. At least we have to reduce the effect of that localized temperature points. That we have to reduce. Is it okay? So in order to reduce, So in last class I told you, so the so in last class I told you, this one is the liquid is flowing like this way. Okay, so at this point the heat transfer medium is absorbing energy. At this point heat transfer medium is absorbing energy. At this point, etc., etc. So continuously it is absorbing energy. Okay, so if it is absorbing energy, so definitely the temperature heat transfer medium will increase from this point to this point. So that change in temperature is known as temperature gradient. Okay, so if you are able to carry this liquid heat transfer medium from this point to this point quickly, we can reduce that temperature gradient. That is possible. We can reduce that by using by increasing the speed of transportation of heat transfer medium from this point to this point. And what is that speed of heat transfer? Speed of transportation? It is nothing but flow rate. If you are able to increase the flow rate, we can reduce the temperature gradient problem. So that one is achieved here. Now the flow rate is constant. Now we are not allowing the change in flow rate. So definitely the temperature gradient is now constant. The temperature gradient is not continuously changing. There is no second gradient in temperature gradient. So temperature gradient is constant, but gradient is there. Temperature gradient is not zero. Temperature gradient is not zero. Now it is constant if this flow rate is constant. So what is the disadvantage of this temperature gradient? Actually, we are maintaining or we are controlling or we are manipulating heat transfer medium with respect to the temperature inside this one. Means this liquid is carrying a particular effective heat energy. So now that effective heat energy is different here. So we have two different effective heat energy. Okay, so it is known as disturbance. We can consider it as disturbance. ഇവിടെ നമ്മൾ assume ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത് the heat transaction through the wall is uniform. എല്ലാ ഭാഗത്തും യൂണിഫോം ആണ്, identical ആണ്. Okay, but heat transaction is there. So due to that heat transaction, the temperature of heat transfer medium will be different at different points. So at least we can consider the extreme point. This one is the inlet point. Here we have minimum temperature because this one is coolant, and this one is the outlet side, and here we can expect large temperature. Okay, so now we have to reduce the effect of these two different, and then effect temperature transition, temperature control inaccurate. Okay, a offset is created. So integral action is capable to reduce that, but that is not a quick one. That integral action can't reduce the effect of offset error quickly. That is not possible. Integral action can eliminate that, but it can't eliminate offset error quickly. That is not possible for integral action. One more problem is there. Here we are using small ki value. Okay, so please note the integral action can't eliminate the offset error due to this difference quickly. So that is not possible. So please note here the disturbance is primarily affecting the manipulating variable, that is heat transfer medium. If a disturbance is affecting the manipulating variable, then we have to use a cascade controller. Cascade controller means we are going to use one more measurement. So that one is our next one. Okay. So please note this title and this diagram. Okay, so we can continue the discussion about cascade controller. So here you can see that multiple loops are used, multiple measurements are there. Means we are using a cascade controller. What is cascade controller? Cascade controller is the combination of primary loop. So this is a primary loop. Okay, so this one is a primary measurement, where the primary measurement is the reactor temperature, and this one is a primary controller which is used to control this temperature, the reactor temperature that we discussed in last class. And this is a secondary loop, where this one is a secondary measurement, this one is a secondary measurement which is measuring the return temperature or jacket temperature. Okay, and this is a secondary controller. So this one is a secondary controller. So please note this one is the secondary control loop, this point to this point, this one is a secondary control loop, and this point to this point, this one is a primary control loop. Okay. So now you can see that for secondary controller, the output of this primary controller is acting as the set point. Okay, so that is the first thing. Second thing, the other thing, this one is a normally open word. That is similar to the last class discussion. We are using equal percentage word. As it is an exothermic reaction, we are using coolant. Okay, we are using coolant. We are recirculating return to maintain the minimum flow rate constant through this one. Is it okay? So now the thing is, say assume that at this particular time, the temperature inside the reactor is exactly equal to the set point. Temperature inside the reactor is exactly equal to set point. If it is exactly equal to set point, means if it is at steady state, there is no need to change the position of this equal percentage one. We can maintain the current position position of that one if the temperature inside is exactly equal to set point, because we are using PID. Okay, so if the error is 0 and if the accumulated value of error is 0, then this position is constant, and that is the current situation. Okay. So now, due to some reason, this temperature is changed. Due to some reason, if this temperature is changed, definitely it will affect the process dynamics. It will affect the current equilibrium. So in order to avoid that effect as early as possible, or in order to reduce the effect as early as possible, this temperature is measured, and that measurement is compared with the control output given by the primary controller. So this one is the control output given by the primary controller. That one is compared with the manipulating variable, that is the temperature carried by the manipulating variable after this effect, after the jacket. Okay, so these two are compared. So if it is equal, then there is no need to modify the position. If it is equal, if these two are equal, if these two are equal, means this one is given a control output and this jacket is carrying exactly the required temperature. That is a indication. Means these two are equal, then there is no need to modify this position. It will be 50%. If not, if this jacket temperature, if the jacket is carrying a temperature that is not equal to the required value means control output, then we have to modify the control output. So that one is done by this slave controller. So the purpose of slave controller is used to modify the control signal if the temperature carried by the jacket temperature is not equal to the required value. Required value means the primary controller output is the required value, and the jacket temperature is not equal to the required value. Then we can say that something is happening inside the process, some variation, some disturbance, etc. are carried. One disturbance is nothing but the temperature gradient. We can expect some more variation or some more disturbance, or we can expect disturbance, or we can expect the temperature variation due to some other reason. For example, this control valve is not functioning properly. That one is written here. The sticking of control valve. That one is another reason. We can expect that also. Another reason, another thing is due to some pressure variation, the effective temperature is changed. A load in pressure. Due to the load in pressure, this effective temperature or effective transaction is changed. Okay, so changes in temperature or pressure of heat transfer medium, that also we can expect. So whatever be the change, that changes are affecting this manipulating variable. This one is a manipulating variable. So whatever be the changes, that one is affecting this manipulating variable. What is a manipulating variable? The effective heat energy carried by the heat transfer medium. That is temperature of that return. Okay, so the temperature return is measured, and if you have these effects, definitely this one is disturbed, and if it is disturbed, the disturbed value will not be equal to the required value. So we have to modify. So that one is the application of cascade control. Okay, now one more discussion is required. In last class I told you we are using a PID controller here. This one is a master controller. We are using the PID controller. We are using large proportional value, small integral action, and small derivative action. Large value is not required. It will not improve the performance because this one is the slowest response. Okay, now what about this secondary controller? This secondary controller is a proportional controller. We are using a proportional controller here. But we are using a proportional controller with large Kp value or small proportional value, small proportional band value. PB is small, or we are using a proportional controller with large Kp, small proportional band or large Kp, that we are using. Okay. So this is cascade controller. So basically it is used to reduce the effect of disturbance, cascade controller. So actually here we have all strategies. We have basic strategy. This one is a basic strategy. We have the second one, the recirculation of return. Second strategy is the, and this is the third strategy. This one is a cascade controller. This one is the cascade controller. So I am stopping here.